Hello, welcome to Steve McDonald's Arts and Crafts. Today I'm going to be showing you a 3D picture I made of some umbrellas using mixed media. So I've drawn the umbrellas on this piece of canvas board that I had left over. I had originally wanted to use it for something else. As you can see, there's a few sketches in the background, but I didn't like that, so I've hand drawn a load of umbrellas on, and the plaster bandage that you can see that I showed earlier, I'm going to make the 3D elements out of. So there we go, there's the plaster strips. I've had that in the cupboard for quite a long time. So all you need to do is cut it to the size that you want, dip it in water for a couple of seconds, and then mould it around where you want it. And you can get this off Amazon. I know they used to use it for when people broke their arms, but it's great crafting material. So there we go. I've sped this video up quite a lot and I've cut an awful lot out, because actually in total this project took me about 4.5 hours, and then there was a lot of drying time in between. So there we go, I'm moulding it. I squeeze the excess water out, I mould it, I rub over with my finger to get a smoother edge, and then I place it over my Sharpie lines that I've used. And the reason I use Sharpie is because you do drip water over the canvas board, and I didn't want it to really dislodge all the lines that I had put down, and you're not going to see these Sharpie lines at the end. So this is one of the umbrellas. There's the top of the umbrella going on now. It's very easy to mould. It is tiny little bit messy, but it brushes off your clothes, and it does brush off anything that you get it on, and it washes off quite nicely. So there we go, that umbrella's nearly finished. I'm just giving the handle a last go over there with the bit of plaster bandage, a little bit of water, and I've ensured that it's nice and smooth. There we go, so that's that one finished. Now I haven't shown you I'm doing the rest of them because I didn't really think there was much point in you seeing them all. So this is where they're all done, and I've left it for 3 days now to dry, and I'm just going over it with my Dremel and a sanding tool. And you could use normal sandpaper for this, but I just wanted to sculpt it a little bit more around the edges. Sorry about my head being in the way there. So there we go, I'm sculpting it around the edges, and I'm using my vacuum cleaner that I have in my studio all the time, because it is quite dusty. So that does help with the dust flying around. I don't want it all around my studio because it doesn't get dusted very often. So once I've got all the rough bits off, I will go over and vacuum it all off, and then go over it again with a little bit of fine grit sandpaper as well. So once I've done that, I'm making sure I brush all the dust off, and now I'm using a primer. This is the primer that I use, because what that does is it seals it, because remember, this is quite a porous material. It will keep absorbing water. So once I'd finished priming it, and I did give it 2 coats of primer, I'm now going over it with a latex paint that I managed to purchase online, and it's great. It dries clear, so if it had been a different colour other than white underneath, you would have been able to see that. And the reason I'm going over it with a latex paint is because I intend to use alcohol inks on this. So there we go, that's 2 coats of latex paint later, and that didn't take long to do, and it's nice and dry, and as you can see, it's glossy, and now it will repel the alcohol inks. Not as much as U-Pay paper or tiles or anything like that, but it does allow you to use the alcohol inks and use them quite well. So I'm just putting a bit of alcohol in there, and I'm going in there now with chili pepper red. And I'm using my airbrush to blow that around, and as you can see, the latex does allow it to move around quite a bit, and that's why I put the airbrush on, really, just to show you that you can move it around. What you can't achieve is you can't achieve by putting alcohol or blending solution on it and going right back to the white. It does stain the latex a little bit. So in with my brushes, and I've learned a great way of cleaning alcohol ink out of brushes without using alcohol, which I will do a little separate video on for later in the week. So I'm putting black alcohol ink onto this closed umbrella here that I've made. And as you can see by this picture, I did have 4 different umbrellas. I was thinking of putting some hot glue raindrops over it, but because all the umbrellas are facing in different directions, I actually thought you would never know which way the rain came from, so I decided against that. So I'm going over that now with the black alcohol ink. And you'll see why I chose alcohol inks in a minute, because obviously you could have just used acrylic. So here I am now daubing some, I think that might be blue. Again, I can't remember, I actually can't remember, I can't see the colour, so over it. And I really actually am pondering whether I like that. I didn't really like the way that came out. Now I wanted this to be a really bright yellow, so this is the sun bright yellow, because I do like yellow and it does brighten up the picture quite considerably. So spreading quite a nice amount around, I went round it with a brush and made sure that I got it all covered. And this didn't need a second coat, it literally did just need one coat with the alcohol, and it did blend in quite nicely because of that latex paint that I'd used. So now I've put some 99% alcohol or blending solution in a little pot, and I'm using a Q-tip here just to create some dots and a little bit of added interest and texture. And this is why I wanted to use alcohol inks, because I do like the way that they do move out. And as you can see, they're expanding slowly, a lot slower than they would on Yupo paper, but they're still doing it and still creating quite a nice pattern. So I'm just going back over a couple of them and dropping a bit of alcohol in the middle of these dots until they've done what I want. Now again, I'm pondering about that other umbrella. I still keep pondering about it. Oh dear, look at my great big belly sitting there. So this one I've done is nearly finished. So, and this is, I really like this colour. I can't think what it's called at the moment. I think it's magenta. Margarita magenta, I believe, or something similar. But they're all Pinata inks, and I will put the ink colours once I go and look at the bottles in the description. So I've come back to this because actually I don't like it. I think it looks messy and untidy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over it with the same colour that I made the dots in with a paintbrush. And get rid of that completely. I'd like to say that I put that other colour and those other dots on to give it an under texture or a bit of underpainting, but that would be a complete lie, so there's no point saying that because it was just really a balls up. So I'm now going back in with the alcohol and a Q-tip, and as you can see, those are starting to expand slowly, and they continue to expand and lighten up a little bit, as you'll see at the end of the picture. I look like I'm really concentrating hard there, I probably was. So now into the other one, and I'm going to put some dots into that because I really like the dots, and this is what the effect that I wanted to have here. And which is odd because in some of my other videos I said I don't want dots, I don't like dots, but I like the dots today, and I like the dots and the effect that it had on here. And now I'm going to place some dots on the black one, black umbrella, or the cover. Just a few on there, I didn't want to overdo that one. And now I'm going to paint the semi-closed umbrella with chili pepper red. What you'll see is at the top here, it has bled quite a lot, and that is not a problem because what you can do is you can go over that again with a little bit of the primer to get rid of that. And I do tidy this picture up quite a lot. So now I am going to give a few dots in this as well. So they're all dotty umbrellas. When I go for dots, I like to go for dots. Okay, so now I am using acrylic paint. I'm using black acrylic paint because I didn't want any dots in these handles. The handles are quite solid. And And that's what I wanted to have. And this is the string that would be attached to that you would put your hand through. And you can see how nicely the acrylic paint takes to this latex covering. It really does work well, and I think I'll be using that latex quite a lot, and I didn't use much of it. So at this point I hadn't really decided whether I was going to paint all the handles black. I wondered about painting some of them silver or a different colour, and then I thought, no, there's too much colour here as it is, and I'm going to be introducing too much colour. So I do decide that all the handles should be black. And actually, now I look at the picture complete, I'm really pleased that I did. Okay, so this is where I'm pondering whether I should do them all black or not. So now I'm quickly washing out my brush, a little bit of water, and I'm going to apply some silver acrylic paint to the areas that I think should be silver. So that stem and that, so I've done all the silver, and now I'm going back to applying the black where I want the black acrylic. And as you can see, I've done most of the handles. I've just got the bottom one to do, and the stem of that umbrella I decided to do black. One I decided to do silver, and I put some accents of silver in where you would have like the silver bit on the top of an umbrella or around the top of the handle as well. So that's silver. Now the silver doesn't cover very well first coat, but actually it covers really well once you go over it again, and it doesn't take many seconds to dry before you can go back over it, and gives quite a nice effect. There we go, I'm just finishing that off. Popping that little bit of silver in there, just to give it a break up the blackness and the pole as well. And I'm happy with that now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give the whole thing a wash of black acrylic paint. Now this is a really watery black acrylic paint, and as you can see, I'm putting it on, and you can see how watery it is. I'm just cutting in around these edges because obviously I don't want to get this on where I've painted on the black acrylic on the handle. So I'm just taking that off again because this is a background colour. As you'll see in a minute, I go over it with a different colour, and I literally just wanted to give it a bit of shadow underneath it. You don't see much of this at the end, but it does give quite a nice effect. There we go, so I'm dabbing it out again now with a bit of paper towel, and that's that finished. And I got a couple of splashes on of that watery acrylic on that yellow umbrella, so I just took it off with a bit of water. So this is acrylic paint mixed up. It's gold acrylic paint, bronze acrylic paint, and copper acrylic paint with a smidgen, I'm talking just a teeny weeny, less than a little fingernail of black acrylic paint in it as well. And I've mixed that up, and I'm painting that all across. And I was going to do the same effect and dab it off here, which you can see me doing. But when I looked at this after it had dried, I actually didn't really like it. And this is the great thing about art. I think as you go along, you can change it, and you can make different decisions that you had previously decided on. So as you can see now, I'm giving it a full coat, and I'm going back over that bit, which isn't too bad because that middle bit there is actually quite dark. The wash took quite heavily there, so it really doesn't matter. It's almost like that had a undercoat of this mixture. I was going to do this all in copper and bronze, but unfortunately I didn't have enough paint. That's why I added the gold, and that's why I put the tiny bit of black in it as well to cut through that gold a little bit. And I'm really pleased with the colour and how it's come out. I just like this. It's quirky, it's bright, it is, 3D, and it was great fun to do. So there I am with the first coat of this gold mixture. Just cutting in around these edges. It's quite easy to do because they are raised. And raised well. They were raised well with good manners. I'm just using a smaller brush here to cut in. And then that's finished. So I let that dry now for a couple of hours, and then I do go over it again and give it another full coat with this gold mixture. So there we go, that's it dry after a day, and the sun's come out now, which is lovely for me, but it's shining through my studio windows. So it's now had 2 coats. So what I want to do now is I want to give it a little bit more texture and a little bit more shine in places. So I've got some gold, metallic gold wax, and this goes a long way. I've had this years. This is this little pot, and you just need to dip it in and rub it where you want a few accents. It's great if you are making 3D models and you just want it to skim over the top of something, and you just rub it in, rub it on. There we go. It hardly shows, but it does catch the light when you want it to catch the light, and just give it a bit of polish. You could leave this stage out if you didn't have any of this, but I quite like it. And there we go. So that's the picture finished. That's the wax dried. I haven't sealed this picture with anything yet because I didn't really feel there was much need to at this stage. And there we go. That's what it looks like upright. You can't really get the full effect of it there. And I like this picture so much that I thought, you know, I'm going to, it's really quite bright and cheery and a happy picture. And so I've decided I'm going to put this picture up in my house somewhere. And so I wandered around the house to have a look and see where it was, where it should go. And I decided it should go in the back end of my hallway. So here we go. There's one of the pictures of it in my hallway. There's another picture. You can see the gold accents I've now picked up. And there's the third. Well, I hope you enjoyed this 3D picture. I really enjoyed making it. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Bye.